Welcome to BelleAire Radio. I'm Rita U, here with Professor Lipscomb.
Hi Rita, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm very excited about the show.
I know we have a lot in store. So if you're driving, make sure you turn up your radios and slow down a little bit because you're going to want to tune into us for the next half hour.
If you're in the gym listening to this, do not stop your workout. Whatever, if you got to do a few more laps or a few more bench presses, keep working.
All right. Well, today's show is specifically about scholarships, and those are so important.
Rita, do you currently have a scholarship?
I certainly do, from my institution, Bennett College.
And what does that allow you in terms of your peace of mind about college?
It takes away a lot of the stress from worrying about how I'm going to pay for school and helps me to just concentrate on my schoolwork.
And one thing I know from the side of somebody that works at a college, having all of these donors out there that provide scholarship and allow the classrooms to be full of excited students is a big help.
And that's why Bennett College held a scholarship luncheon to thank some of the people who provided these great opportunities for us.
It really turned into a fantastic event. Dr. Iris Ramey and the Institutional Advancement Department put all of this on, and the keynote speaker was Dr. Michael Lomax. Do you know who Dr. Lomax is?
I do. He is the president of the United Negro College Fund, a great man. Right now, we want to take you to some highlights of this event, kicked off by President Fuse Hall.
All Bennett Bells, all Bennett Bells, all Bennett Bells, please stand. Oh, yeah, there she is. There she is. When I tell you that they truly are the wind beneath this president's wings, if there's any flight that I'm taking, it's because of the alumni from this great college. So I am so pleased that so many of you have joined us today. Namesake, I see you over there. Thank you so much for being with us. So once again, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, the faculty, staff, and students, we welcome you to our college. And most importantly, we thank you for your generous support of our scholars. These are dollars well invested.
Good afternoon. I am Zakia Bolden, a graduating senior political science major from Newark, New Jersey. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to introduce our keynote speaker for this afternoon's luncheon, Dr. Michael L. Lomax. Dr. Lomax graduated Phi Beta Kappa from our brother institution, Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. He received his master's degree from Columbia and his doctorate degree in American and African American literature from Emory University. Dr. Lomax spent a great deal of time teaching literature to two UNCF member colleges, Spelman and his alma mater, Morehouse. Dr. Lomax was teaching also while he was serving. Dr. Lomax served as chairman of Fulton County Commission in Atlanta, Georgia, the first African American in Atlanta, Georgia, and he held the position for 12 years before becoming the president of Dillard University in New Orleans, Louisiana. Since 2004, Dr. Lomax has been the president and CEO of the United Negro College Fund. The UNCF is the nation's largest private provider of scholarship and other educational support to African American students. UNCF is the leading advocate for college readiness. College readiness is the student's need for education from preschool through high school, which prepares them for college success. Under Dr. Lomax's leadership, UNCF has raised $1.5 billion and helped more than 92,000 students earn college degrees and launch careers. Annually, the UNCF enables 60,000 students to go to college with UNCF scholarships and attend its 37-member historically black colleges and universities. UNCF has fought for college readiness and education reform through partnerships with reform-focused leaders and organizations. He serves on the board of Teach for America, the KIPP Foundation, the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools, and Stand for Children. Dr. Lomax also serves on the boards for the Smithsonian Institution's Museum of African American History and Culture and the Studio Museum of Harlem. He founded the National Black Arts Festival. Dr. Lomax is married to Charlotte and is the father of 3 beautiful daughters, Deegan, Michelle, and Rachel. And Rachel. As a UNCF dividend and a member of the Bennett College Choir, who were graciously able to sing background for a Thai tribute at the United Negro College Fund Evening of Stars, I am overwhelmed with joy and humbled with the opportunity to introduce you to Dr. Lomax.
It's really great to be here on this wonderful campus. I've known about Bennett College since I've known about colleges. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, and of course, there are Bennett Bells in Los Angeles, and a lot of them in leadership positions throughout the city. And I've been visiting this campus for almost half a century. And I have to tell you, this is a beautiful day on a beautiful campus with beautiful young women preparing themselves for leadership and life at a great college here in Greensboro. So I want to thank all of you for the support that you give. It's wonderful to be on the campus and to see the work of this wonderful institution impacting a new generation of women. Women who aspire to a rich variety of lives. When this seminary was founded back in the 19th century, the expectations were that these would probably be homemakers, raising a family, important work. But you know, women are never satisfied with doing just what someone else expects of them. And Bennett Bells have definitely been pushing the envelope for generations. And today, graduates of this wonderful institution are to be found in business, in science, in service, in positions of leadership all across the country and around the world. And I know that under the leadership of your new president, that Bennett women will be continuing to push that envelope and getting the foundation to go all around the world here in Greensboro, North Carolina. This is the 70th, 70, anniversary of the United Negro College Fund. I want to give you a little bit of history. Go back not to 1944, but go back to around 1938. A young veterinarian named Frederick Douglass Patterson was the third president of Tuskegee Institute in rural Macon County, Alabama. And I emphasize rural, because they had more cows and chickens and pigs than they had folk in rural Macon County, Alabama. I know because I lived in Tuskegee in the 1960s, and I used to see folk come in from the country on Saturday in their wagons, pulled by the mule, for an afternoon of excitement on the town square, watching other people come in and out of town. But just think about it, rural and isolated in the late 1930s, and Dr. Patterson, a veterinarian, right disciplined for someone who's going to be at an institute that had its own farm and raised its own animals and built its own buildings. Dr. Patterson had a vision beyond that community. And he went to Washington, D.C., and he petitioned the War Department to enable Tuskegee to establish an aviation program. 1938. An aviation program on this rural institute campus, founded just decades before, in 1881 by Booker T. Washington, a graduate of Hampton Institute in Virginia. And finally, they issued him the license, And on a cotton field, not far from the campus, they paved an airstrip and started to teach young black men and a couple of women to fly. War came. And Dr. Patterson petitioned that these aviators be given the opportunity to defend this nation, which wasn't even granting them the full rights of citizenship. Defend this nation in the Pacific and in Europe against our enemies. Well, you know the rest of the story. It's history. The petition was granted, the program was started, and much to the objections of many, because this didn't meet their expectations of what African Americans were supposed to do, the Tuskegee Airmen were born. And today, if you go to Moton Field in rural Macon County, Alabama, you'll see a wonderful museum with that Spitfire plane. And you're going to see that Spitfire, or a replica of it, in Washington, D.C. at the new Museum of African American History and Culture when it opens next year. Dr. Patterson was a visionary. We don't celebrate him enough. But you know, Dr. Patterson had one big idea. But he wasn't satisfied with that one big idea to create a Tuskegee Airman. At the end of World War II, in 1944, recognizing that men and women who had served their nation in the armed forces, men who had flown in the skies over Italy and France, women who had worked in Long Beach and Richmond, Rosie the Riveters, were going to decide they weren't satisfied with their educations, and they'd come back and after this war was over and they'd get a good education. And so he challenged all of the presidents of the private historically black colleges, including the president here at Bennett, to come together and create a united Negro college fundraising organization. And he announced that challenge in the pages of the Pittsburgh Courier in 1943. The president stepped up and joined him, and in 1944 they enlisted the aid of John D. Rockefeller Jr. to chair the first campaign. And Mr. Rockefeller had a pretty good Rolodex. This was in the days of a different kind of fundraising, Iris. And he sent notes to a guy named Mellon in New York, and a guy named Ford in Detroit, and an Alfred Sloan who was running General Motors, and an Eli Lilly in Indianapolis, and a guy named Woodruff in Atlanta who ran a soft drink company. And he said, I want all of you to come together and support Dr. Patterson's dream of a United Negro College fundraising organization. And in that first campaign they raised $750,000. And in the 70 intervening years we have raised nearly $4 billion with a B, and I predict that before the end of this year we will be over $4 billion raised in behalf. Now, I consider that a spine-tingling story because it says a couple of important things. Bennett Bells, it says if you dream big dreams and you work real hard and you don't take no for an answer, and if you persist and if you're determined and if you're resilient, you will succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, it says something about this nation. It says that we can disagree on a lot of things. We can be wrong about some of them. But there's something very generous about Americans. There's something about Americans that says we're going to give everybody a fair chance. And the fairest chance we can give is we can give somebody the chance to get an education. And in that first campaign, John D. Rockefeller reached out to his Rolodex. He reached out to the richest of the rich. I don't think he invited one lady to contribute. Mistake. Only mistake he made. But they all kind of looked the same. Rich captains of industry, mostly from the north. Marshall Fields. I mean, it was a who's who. And in 5 years, on the 75th anniversary, we're going to celebrate that in New York. But a who's who. But you know, they laid the foundation for something that could be an even broader appeal. 35 years later, they hired a young man from Atlanta, Georgia. Not me, another young man from Atlanta, Georgia. Named Vernon Jordan. Not everybody remembers Vernon Jordan. To be the then executive director. We've upped the title, a little more inflation, president and CEO now. Vernon Jordan to be the executive director of the United Negro College Fund. And Vernon, if you know him, is a guy, he's like a Bennett Bell. He doesn't take no for an answer. He's got big ideas. He's very, a little pushy, you know. And he said, we're not going to send out letters. We're going to tell America our story. And he went to Madison Avenue. He got a company called Young and Rubicam. And they sat in the back room and they just went over and said, how are we going to tell this story? How are we going to tell this story? And they came up with a motto. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, and the rest is history. Today, the United Negro College Fund continues to use that motto, slightly modified. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. And we have young people like Zakiya who are now what? Our dividends. This isn't charity any longer. This is investment. This isn't something we're doing for somebody because we have big hearts. This is something we're doing because it's good for our country. It's good for our community. It's good for them, and they will repay that 100-fold by living lives of service, by helping this great nation compete in a global economy, by driving innovation, by leading. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. They are our dividends, and they are creating better futures for our nation. That was the story we wanted to tell and asked Bennett Bells to help us tell on our television show the other night. And we wanted people to see that our students aren't just one kind of student. We had a non-traditional student from Virginia Union, mother of 3, gone back to get a degree, 3.8, 3.9 grade point average. And she's showing the students at Virginia Union that a college student can look like her. Now these students we told stories of, they were all getting scholarships from Target, and they were all rising stars, and they got to be that by filling out forms and competing. I said, you know, we're going to have people, these people are going to be on television, they better be able to tell their stories well. And the young woman who won from our institution in Austin, Texas, was a Latina. And she told a very compelling story. And she said, HBCU's, this black college, Houston-Tillotson, was where she found herself. And she found an opportunity to get a great education, and she was taking what she had learned back to her own community. That's the impact of these institutions. They're not just for one, they're for all. So what is my message to you here today? My first message is to you that when John D. Rockefeller raised money, he could get a lot of money from a very few people. Now that Michael Lomax is doing it, he's got to get a little bit of money from a whole bunch of folks. I'm so proud that wherever I go, I see rooms full of people who look just like you. Passionate philanthropists. That's what you are. Deeply committed to the educational enterprise of this and other institutions. And powerfully motivated by the young women and young men in whom we are asking you to invest. And I will tell you something about the philanthropists I meet. They don't think they're doing anybody a favor. They think this is an opportunity and a responsibility that God has given to them, and they are happy to discharge it. So I'm here to say thank you for hearing the call, believing in our mission, and supporting our cause. It's vital work to support the cause of UNCF because the pipeline of young men and women whom we must educate in the 21st century looks more and more like Bennett Belle's than it did a century ago or a half century ago. There are more first-generation young folks of color, African American, Latino, Asian Pacific Islander, Native American, who are getting the kind of K through 12 preparation that gets them to the door of the college campus. But they don't have the financial wherewithal to open those doors. And even if they have the financial wherewithal to get in, they don't always have the resources to stay. So today, these young men and women who have done everything right need us more than they've ever needed us before. They need us not to give them charity, but to make an investment. An investment which they are going to repay by living contributing, constructive lives, by building this great economy, and by doing in their lives what you have done in yours. Invest in others. So a college education is important. Your role as a philanthropist is important. But I gotta tell you, you've got to be more than a philanthropist. You've got to be a champion. And I want you to be a champion not just of these kids' aspirations, but I want you to be a champion of the aspirations of a very special group of colleges, of which Bennett College is one. Historically black colleges. These institutions for a century and a half have been doing the work that no one else would do. Investing in young people who they weren't necessarily seen as investment worthy in an earlier time, but who have proved over and over again the worthiness for a good investment. We need Bennett College to be strong. We need it to have the financial resources, the facilities, the faculty, the team that will ensure that it is here not just for another decade, not just through another presidency, but for centuries yet to come. This year, We just closed our books. We are still counting, I tell Dr. Hall. But we're up to 80 million. Our goal is to reach an annual campaign of $100 million. We're not there yet, but we're determined to get there. For 70 years, UNCF has been able to convince people who look different, who worship differently, who believe differently in a lot of things, to agree on one thing: support this cause. Because this cause is bigger than whatever divides us. That's what our nation needs to go back to. Believing enough in some really important things that we can park our differences at the door and be a strong nation doing vital work in behalf of an important cause. I need the folks in Washington to behave more like you in Greensboro, coming together across all kinds of divides to do what you know you have to do to ensure that we have a strong Bennett and we have more wonderful young women walking through the gate as graduates this spring. Thank you for your work. God bless you all.
Wow, that event was great. Well, we are coming up to the end of our half hour. Thank you, Mr. Lipscomb, for being our guest today.
My pleasure.
And on behalf of all my Bennett sisters, I want to give a personal thank you to all of the donors who have helped us continue our education and realize our dreams.
What is your dream, Rita?
Well, I have a lot. One of my dreams is to own my own styling company, write for a fashion magazine, and also be a correspondent on Style Network.
I think those are great and lofty expectations. And you heard her here first, right here on BelleAire Radio. But I've listened to this show before, and usually you have some kind of a fashion tip.
I do.
So what I'm wondering is, what should people wear to an event like this?
For this event, I would go business casual. That can mean a pantsuit, a skirt suit, or a dress. Color, color, color is very important because it is a luncheon. You want to seem inviting. Well, that's all we have for today. If you're listening, make sure you tell all of your friends to tune into SiriusXM's satellite radio show where you can hear me, Rita U, on the next installment of BelleAire Radio.